You know how financial websites have those free calculators for compound interest that if you invest this amount now, how much will you have 20 years from now? What if there were one of these calculators for me in the HR space or in the business leadership space or in the healthcare leadership space? What if I had one of these calculators I could use? I want to share with you. Yes, there is something like that now. And I want to show it off to you right now. And here it is. So if you go to my website, let me pull this back real quick. Right here in the lower, I guess if you're looking at the screen, it's in the lower left hand corner of the screen. It has my name, and then underneath it says btrimpact.com/healthcare dash staffing. So healthcare staffing is what we're talking about. This applies outside of healthcare as well, but a lot of the language and the imagery in the write up is geared towards health systems, medical groups, lab organizations, radiology type of companies, those ancillary medical teams that are outside or peripheral to a health system. So let's take a look at the tool. Now, if we go to the page itself, you'll be greeted by my face, and it'll ask you a few questions just to get some information from you to help tailor a solution for you if you needed one. But right here, it gives you a little bit of information about how healthcare staff, if they're happier, they're healthier. If they feel more engaged and connected at work, feel more cared for in the work they're doing, you're going to have less turnover. So it gives you some basic information there. And let's get to the real meat and potatoes, though. This is why you're here. This is what I want to show off. Read all this content. This is good stuff. We did a lot of research to pull this information together. It's all tied in with actual sources that are out there on the web that are credible. So I didn't just make up these numbers on the fly. But here is the meat and potatoes. Let's say your organization has 12,000 people in it. Okay. So you're a good sized health system spread out in a metro area, across a state, multiple states in the US, multiple countries. But let's say on average, you lose about 3,500 of your full time employees. So this is FTEs in the HR speak, full time employees. So if you have multiple part timers, contractors, you kind of bring them together to make a full time employee. Let's say now $59,000 a year is the average salary in the United States, or the median, I believe. Maybe it's not median. Maybe it's the one where you add it up and divide it. But let's say in a healthcare organization, it's more like 67,000. That's if you took everybody's salary, pulled it together, divided it by 12,000 people. It's $67,000 a year per person. I'm just going to leave this alone. Let's say it's an $8 billion a year organization. Let's say it's a nonprofit, so its profit margin or its target for excess revenue, because that's what we call it in the nonprofit space, excess revenue. It's the same concept, just it's somewhere else in the tax code. So let's say it's 3%, because I think that's what a healthy organization aims for if they're in the nonprofit space. It might be higher if you're in a for profit organization. It might be lower because maybe you put more work into charity care. I don't know. But you just plug in those five numbers. At a minimum, plug in these three. How many full time employees? How many of them left in the last 12 months? What's the average salary? You could leave these two blank if you like. Now, here's the information it gives you. It'll tell you what is your percent of annual voluntary turnover. So you're focused on voluntary turnover, not the people you terminated because they weren't living up to standards. The people who said, I quit, I'm going to another organization, or I quit because I moved, those fall in the bucket of voluntary turnover. So if you're at about 29%, naturally, I believe that's higher than the national average. So how do you compare to your local benchmark or to your national benchmark? It lets you see how you compare. But you also get to see if I replace just one employee at three times their salary, I'm looking at about $201,000 to replace one person. Now, if I replace all 3,500 people, I'm looking at $703 million before I fill in all those ranks, assuming nobody else leaves my organization during that time. But what do I have to gain if I cut my turnover in half? And these numbers, by the way, the lost money due to turnover, how much you can recoup. This is looking at everything from recruiting costs, background checks, overtime to cover somebody's work. This could be lost productivity as well because you have somebody who's not producing the results that that person was producing before. This could also be the onboarding time, the training time, the interviewing of candidates, because that takes leaders away from and staff away from their normal activities for hours. While they interview and level set and make a decision. So, hope you find a lot of value in this tool. Whether you're struggling with engagement in your organization or you want to keep the competitive edge, I hope this tool is something that you find value in. Thank you so much. Take care.